The smell hit them before they even saw him. One by one, the farmers stopped what they were doing and stared. There he was, kneeling in the middle of his field, spreading something across the soil that made everyone cover their noses. Human waste. Have you completely lost your mind? One farmer shouted. Another burst out laughing. Someone even pulled out his phone and started recording. But the farmer didn't argue. He didn't explain. He simply kept working. Because while everyone else saw something disgusting, he saw something they couldn't see yet. And months later, the same people who laughed at him would stand at the edge of that field in complete silence. Because what happened next was almost impossible to ignore. His name was Daniel, and for years, he had struggled to get good harvests from his small farm. The soil looked healthy from a distance, but underneath, it was exhausted. Every season, Daniel planted. Every season, he waited. And every season, the harvest seemed to get smaller. He bought fertilizer when he could afford it. But fertilizer was becoming more expensive. For a small farmer, every bag represented money that could have gone toward food, school fees, or something else his family needed. Then Daniel learned about an old farming principle. Soil needs more than just nutrients. It needs organic matter. It needs life. It needs material that can improve the structure of the soil and help it hold nutrients and moisture. That was when Daniel began experimenting with properly treated human waste, what is commonly called human manure or biosolids when safely processed. But Daniel knew something important. He couldn't simply take raw human waste and throw it onto food crops. That could spread dangerous pathogens and contaminate soil, water, and food. So he used a properly treated and composted source, following safe handling practices. But his neighbors didn't care about the science. All they saw was what it looked like, and what it smelled like. One afternoon, as Daniel worked on his field, a group of farmers walked past. One covered his nose. Another shook his head. "You'll destroy your farm," he said. Someone laughed. Who was going to buy food from that place? Daniel simply smiled. He had heard enough. He continued spreading the treated organic material across the field. Then he worked it into the soil and waited. For the first few weeks, nothing spectacular happened. The field looked ordinary. His neighbors continued farming the way they always had. Daniel's field looked almost forgotten. Then the rains came, and something started changing. Tiny green shoots pushed through the soil. At first, nobody cared. But as the weeks passed, the difference became harder to ignore. Daniel's plants began growing thicker. Their leaves looked healthier. The soil held moisture longer after rainfall, and the plants seemed to keep growing even when neighboring fields began struggling. People started noticing. One farmer walked past Daniel's field twice, then 3 times. He couldn't understand what he was seeing. "Is that the same seed we planted?" Daniel smiled. "No, but that wasn't the whole story. Because seeds weren't the only difference. The soil itself had changed. Organic matter can improve soil structure, help retain water, and support the microorganisms that play important roles in healthy soil. And that was exactly what Daniel had been trying to achieve. But the real test hadn't arrived yet. Harvest day. When Daniel finally began harvesting, people gathered around his field. The farmer who had laughed the loudest stood at the edge, staring. Daniel's crops were noticeably fuller. The plants were stronger, and the harvest was far better than what he had been getting from that tired piece of land. Nobody was laughing anymore. One of the farmers finally asked, "Daniel, how did you do this?" Daniel looked at the field. Then he said something simple. "You laughed at what I put on the soil. You never asked what it was doing to the soil." The farmer went quiet. But there was another lesson hiding inside Daniel's experiment. It wasn't that human waste was some magical fertilizer. It wasn't. And using untreated human waste on food crops can be extremely dangerous. The real lesson was about waste management, soil health, and understanding what your land actually needs. When human waste is properly treated and converted into safe agricultural products, it can potentially return nutrients and organic matter to the soil instead of becoming an environmental hazard. Something people considered useless could become part of a useful cycle. And Daniel's neighbors finally understood why he had been willing to look ridiculous. He wasn't trying to impress them. He was trying to save his soil. The same people who once laughed at him eventually started asking questions. How did he prepare it? Where did he get it? How did he know it was safe? Because now they weren't laughing. They were interested. And Daniel had learned something that every farmer, and really every person, can understand. Sometimes the idea everyone laughs at is worth examining before you reject it. But there's an important difference between being different and being reckless. Daniel's success didn't come from simply spreading human waste on a field. It came from understanding the science, using properly treated material, handling it safely, and improving the soil over time. Because when it comes to farming, what looks like waste to one person can become a resource when handled the right way. And the next time those farmers walked past Daniel's field, they didn't cover their noses. They stopped, looked at the crops, and wondered why they had laughed in the first place.